The first one I want to talk about is when we had our first call together, you mentioned that you get a lot of pushback on your screening process and your deposit process. Now, let's start with the screening process. My first question is, it's pretty like asking people for photo ID in a place where in Canada, it's legal to provide the service, but for clients, it's actually technically illegal to purchase a sex service. It's funny, the laws all over the world are so different. So you'll find in countries like that clients, like in that situation, the client is the one who would be incriminated, not you. And some clients are aware of this law and some people aren't, but in general, people are just pretty discreet about this, right? So I can understand why you're getting pushback on the photo ID. Some countries like the US get it more readily because it's basically illegal on both sides and both sides are kind of screening each other. The expectation is different. That being said, in America, there are still plenty of girls who struggle to get photo ID from clients for that legal reason. So I guess my first question to you is, why is the photo ID important to you specifically?
I think just because like a lot of the other girls have it for their screening process, so I'm like, okay, I guess it's like more normal. And then I don't know, like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like if they're sending me their ID, then that means that they don't have anything to hide, and so I can like trust them more. But I guess that doesn't really mean anything. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just like psyching myself out about it. But I feel like yeah, it's like okay, if they're sending me their ID, then I can like look them up online and be like, okay, this is actually like a real person. And just like if I were to meet anyone like and go on like a date, I would look them up first online. You know? Like just a regular thing.
Sure. Okay. And there's no right or wrong here. I want to understand where stuff is coming from for you, particularly when it's creating a barrier to bookings, not because I'm trying to get you to change it or change your mind, but so that I understand like what's going on for you, and then we understand what's happening for the client. If it's creating a barrier for bookings, we see how we can resolve that. Sometimes it might be that we come up with a different strategy. Other times it might just be that we handle the discussion with the client differently or request the screening at a different point in the conversation. So, for example, a lot of escorts will lead very early with the requirement for screening before the client is also feeling comfortable themselves, and it scares the client off. Sometimes if you spend more time building rapport and then introduce it later, you'll get more compliance. So I just want to like give you the disclaimer that I'm not like trying to change your mind. I just want to understand exactly what's happening so that I can give you some suggestions to consider. Okay?
Okay. Yeah. I'm not like super strict on it. Like I'm open to different options as well. Because I know that like two of the girls that were voted like #1 escorts in Montreal, they they don't require like photo ID or a deposit. So maybe like because their screening process is so easy, they're like voted #1. But I don't know. I'm not sure.
You said a lot of other girls have the screening process. Do you know that based on looking at their profiles, or do you have friends that are doing it and telling you that they're doing it?
Well, because I was like reading other girls' profiles too, like to see what the cancellation policies and like what is normal and like in Montreal. And a lot of them do require like photo ID or a LinkedIn profile. And then even yeah, like all my friends, like I have 3 friends in this industry and they all require photo ID as well.
Okay. The people I've worked with in Canada, this is a common issue that I've dealt with in certain places. For example, Korea is the same, South Korea is the same. And it's because the laws are similar. Australia is the same, New Zealand's the same, UK is the same. It's difficult to get ID out of clients.
And a lot of
people advertise it, but then get pushback once the client's engaging with them. And then, to be honest, you really don't know. I mean, I don't know about your friends, you might know, but you really can't know just based off a profile what people are actually doing to get a booking. So that's kind of just like my feedback to you, that sure, everybody might have it on their profiles, but a common issue I deal with when I talk to Canadian escorts is I'm losing bookings because of my screening process. Well, not because of, but clients won't do my screening process. Therefore, the booking doesn't go ahead. And the common theme I get is that there's a lot of pushback on that. Do you know if the agency requires photo ID to book with them?
No, they don't require like anything. You can text off with like a fake number and they'll accept it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, and they're very like last minute bookings, like, oh, who's ready in like 10 minutes, and like they're very, yeah, they don't require anything.
Totally. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so like I understand like for the clients, like why, like in their mind, like the agency girls also provide like a very good service, so why would they go through like jump through hoops if they can just like book easily at the agency? And there's so many like agencies here and so many girls, so I get it.
Yeah. Well, I think what you just said, that particular sentence, why would they jump through hoops? That's the nail on the head. And in one of the modules, I talk about screening, but like we'll talk about now. There's no right or wrong, but the reality is the more steps your screening process has, to be honest, the more steps the process is to get a booking with you at all, like screening, deposits, how to contact you, even like some people who won't respond to text or only respond to their booking form. The harder you make it for a client, the less likely it is that you get more bookings. Now, that doesn't mean that we just like see every like Tom, Dick, and Harry who like texts us. Obviously, we need to have procedures in place, but it's just the being cognizant of, okay, if I have 20 steps between a client seeing my ad and seeing me for a booking, the likelihood of somebody going through all of those 20 steps, at each step, you lose people. Like, you think about it as like a conversion rate.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you have to decide, like, we want to ideally make that list from a commercial perspective for you getting bookings as small as possible. But obviously, we don't want to just eliminate it altogether because your safety and comfortability, etc., is important. But you basically need to consider what's the most important and how can I make that list as short and simple as possible while still getting what you need.
That's what I figured, because even like on my analytics, like for my website, like I get the most like click off pages on my contact form, and I think maybe like too long or something. I don't know. But I understand, because even I have like the attention span of like a 5-year-old. So okay.
Anytime someone has to take an action, like, you lose people. If they have to click something,
Yeah.
that's why really the most effective process is a client sees your ad, you have a phone number, they text you, and you deal with everything mostly via text while you have their attention. And the upsell video I show you Diamond, since you talked about this, is how do you manage the communication with the client, because you have their attention. They're like, it's kind of like a client. Imagine if you had a store, right?
Yeah.
The second this client walks through the door is the best opportunity you have to sell them something. If you require them to stand in line, if you require them to wait for a dressing room, if you require them to wait to pay, like at all of those steps, you lose people.
True.
Okay. So let's come back to the screening and talk about, okay, like, is there a way that we can make this process? And there's a few different ways to approach this. Either we just make it way simpler, so you ask for less. Like, photo ID is the most invasive thing you can ask for. You could ask for photo ID, but with certain information blacked out so that you don't compromise the client's privacy. You could ask for just stick to deposits, that verifies their legitimacy as opposed to like who they are individually, like their identity. You'll find that clients will be willing to do deposits if it's anonymous, but they don't want to give you their identity. So it's really kind of figuring out, when you're screening, there's typically three things that are most important. You firstly got your safety.
Yes.
Secondly, your anonymity, privacy.
Okay.
And then thirdly, certainty of the booking happening. So I think I'll send you a short video to watch on this so that I don't expect you to make a decision about this second, but it really runs you through, what do those three things mean? What is the various options for those three things? And it encourages you to think about, okay, which one of those actually matters to me most? And therefore, I'll prioritize my screening process about that. So, for example, if for you it was certainty, like I want certainty that the booking is actually going to happen, the best way to do that is an anonymous deposit and make it easy for the client.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's definitely my number one concern. It's just like, okay, I don't want to get like a no-show or something.
Yeah.
It's like my main concern.
All right.
Because yeah, like also like all the clients I've met have all been like really, really nice. And I've like, knock on wood, and I've been doing this for like a year, and I've seen like a lot of clients, and they've all been really nice. So my main concern is, yeah, just like no shows and like making sure that, yeah, there's a deposit.
Okay. Main concern, no show. With the agency crossover, then would you say another concern on this list is ensuring it's not an agency client?
Yes, that too.
What other concerns do you have that you feel are a priority for you?
I do need to make sure that I have like their phone number, because that's like the main way that we find the blacklist in like Montreal. So
Okay.
I need their phone number for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. So how about this then? I think the deposit method you have is actually pretty good. It's a pretty small amount.
Yeah.
And is it quite simple to do those 2 gift cards, like really easy for a client?
Yes, it's very easy. I haven't had anyone asking how to do it or anything, thankfully.
Do you find that you lose clients more so over this? How do you present this? Do you present the screening and the deposit in one request, or do you say like screening first and then you talk about the deposit? Like, how does it actually go in the interaction?
I usually ask for the screening and deposit in the same message. Like after we've like talked about a date and like settled on a time and everything, then I'll be like, okay, to secure the booking, I require like a photo ID, and then I tell them that they can like scratch out their address, and I just need to see like their name and birthday and their photo. And then I ask for the deposit in the same message as well. And then that's where I lose them.
What do they typically say specifically? Like, what's some of the language that they use?
Um, let's see.
And I'll explain shortly where I'm going with this and why it's important.
Um, okay, I say to confirm the date, I require. Oh, I changed it recently. I said to confirm the date, I require either a photo of your ID, and then in like parenthesis, you can cover your address. Just have photo, name, and date of birth shown, or a link to your LinkedIn, as well as a $50 deposit sent by Uber or Amazon gift card to this email. And then like looking forward to hearing from you.
And what do they usually say back? the people who?
Well, if I do reply, they'll answer with like the deposit and their photo ID, or they just won't reply. But like even today, I had 3 inquiries, and they didn't reply after my message to them about like the deposit and screening.
Okay. What I typically do is I handle one topic, and they kind of seem together, but also they're separate. A screening and deposit are two different things. You'll see in the process that I send you, I'm very particular in sending one thing at a time.
Okay.
And there's two reasons for that. One is because I want to keep it simple for a client. Like I don't want to introduce too many things at once, and I want to keep control of the conversation. So when I only ask one question, they can't get distracted, or they can't like answer one question but then not answer the other question. You know how clients do that? Like you'll ask them 2 questions, but they'll just respond to one thing.
Yes.
Super annoying. So the way we avoid that and we keep control with the client, because we want to be in charge of the interaction, is we just handle one thing at a time. And if they respond to not answer that question, we basically re-ask the question and essentially won't proceed with them until they've complied with what we're asking of them.
Okay. Perfect.
The second reason it's important is so that we can actually judge where is the issue. So we'll do this once we've like relaunched your, you can do this straight away, but once you've relaunched your profile, something that we do is we track your inquiries for a period of time and we track like the outcome. And what we're looking for is patterns of when you lose clients. So if you send, for example, the request for the deposit first, I wouldn't be surprised if you get a lot more clients saying yes, because your deposit amount and the deposit method is anonymous and quite small and quite easy. And you might even consider including very clear, simple instructions for how to do it, to let the client know that this is anonymous and it's really easy for you to do this, because that will be the immediate thing clients think of is like, oh, they don't want it to be traced to their, Uber account, which their wife might see, or they don't want to have to put in too much effort because people are lazy. So you could even modify the script to kind of say, I require a completely anonymous, very simple deposit of $50. All you do is click this link. I don't see any of your personal details and it's not logged anywhere. And you'll find that and then you include the link and you'll likely find that more people will do it. So I'd be interested to see if you presented that and people say yes, and then you present the screening and people say no, well, now we know that it's the screening that's the problem. Whereas when we're presenting it together, we can't actually identify which one is the issue, because what you're getting is people just stop replying, right? Are they stop replying because they don't want to send you $50, or they're not replying because they don't want to send you their photo ID? I can tell you that it's probably the photo ID, but we don't know now with like sufficient data because it's not separate. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I like that, like the anonymous deposit. I think that's like really good. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we just want to put ourselves in the client's shoes and kind of rethink, what are the concerns? Discretion, a huge concern for these people. Corporate people, married guys, you can understand why they don't want anything that can be traced to them personally or to you.
Makes sense.
And then secondly is convenience. People are lazy. Oh, I don't want to go and like figure out how to, and also your age demographic. If you're dealing with some men that are a bit older, technology is not as easy for them as it is for you. So if you present an Uber gift card, they might not even use Uber for all you know. Like they could still just be like driving themselves everywhere and they don't even have the Uber app. So all of a sudden they have to send you something on an app they don't even have. Well, now you've just lost them because they just don't understand how to do that.
That's true. I had the other day I asked my regular to like order my Uber because my account wasn't working, and he was so confused about how to use the app. Like, you work in tech. Like, it's so funny. And he wasn't even that old. He was like 50. And I'm like, okay. But it's weird. So I guess, yeah, that makes sense. For sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would, and you'll see this in the script that I send you, but separate, wherever we get to today on this conversation with the screening, like even if you wanted to, I mean, you probably don't want to do this because it's going to lose your work, but if you wanted to really see which one is the issue, you could stick to your current screening and deposit method, but I would send the deposit request first, see what happens, and then send the screening request as it is. And I won't be surprised if you find that that's where you're losing people and that you actually get a lot of people being willing to do the deposit. But also after this conversation, you might just decide to modify your screening process. But I'll send you that video. You can check it out. And I'll also address in a second those 3 things that you just covered.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay. So our 3 primary concerns to recap are certainty, no crossover with agency, and you want the phone number so you can check it on the blacklist.
Yes.
Okay. So do you feel certainty is mostly taken care of if they've paid a deposit?
Yes. For sure.
Okay. Now the phone number, obviously that's pretty self-explanatory. We just need their phone number. Do you find that the majority of your inquiries come via text as opposed to email or your booking form?
Well, I don't have like a phone number listed on my profile, so everything is by email or my booking form.
Would you be willing to get a phone number for your profile?
I guess so. Like, the thing is, my clients that do have my phone number, they like abuse it and text me like all of the time. So I don't want that to happen again. And like, from the girls that I do know that work, they're like, no, don't put your phone number on there because clients are just gonna like, you're gonna get a lot of time wasters. But I don't know, maybe like you have a different experience. I don't know. I guess I could get like a fake phone number and it'd be okay.
Well, firstly, yeah, we definitely don't want like your personal number that your mum has or anything. Like you'd get a second. Some girls use apps. What's that app called that Chloe uses? She's in Toronto. Text Me, is that the app?
Yeah, text me. Okay.
Yeah. Or you can just get a second physical phone with a SIM, completely different number, and you only look at the phone when it suits you.
Okay.
You will get things if clients can text you because it's easier. And of course, now you've just erased the issue of having to get their phone number because they've texted you from.
True. Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Now, time wasters versus clients texting you because they've seen you and they're into you, they're 2 different things.
Yes.
Time wasters are firstly a reality of the job,
Okay.
which you experience in every profession. I've worked in the fitness industry, the medical industry, healthcare. Don't think that just escorts get time wasters. You get time wasters in any business.
Sure. Why it feels more.
Excuse me, what did you say?
I'm like, they're terrible.
Super annoying, super annoying. Look, we do get a heightened amount and it's more magnified. And the reason for it is because of the anonymity in the industry. People can do stuff. It's why places like Twitter and Reddit are full of such awful, you really see a baser level of human nature and communication because you've got keyboard warriors with not having anybody to know how they're behaving like unloading the worst part of themselves. So, like, have you ever used Twitter and Reddit very much and seen how some people talk on there?
Yeah, it's pretty like depressing for sure. Yeah.
And people are aggressive. Like, people attack other people, and I think one of the things that Elon Musk has tried to change by buying Twitter is that I think he's removing a lot of that anonymity. Like, you have to register for an account with certain information and stuff now. And the reason for it is because of that. When people are acting anonymously, unfortunately, behavior, there's no accountability is the issue. And that's what we deal with as escorts, is clients are texting us. We're anonymous too, by the way. We're anonymous. We've got a fake name, a number you can't trace. And then you're getting clients contacting you, like, also in a similar position. And unfortunately, they behave very differently to how they would when they're out in the normal world. And so when you're dealing with that all the time, it's like it feels pretty crappy, but unfortunately, it's just a part of the job.
Yeah, true.
So you will get that, but you essentially want to have, like, firstly, just the awareness. Like, when you know something's going to happen, it's less like shocking and upsets you less.
Yeah.
Secondly, you just want to have a method for dealing with those people. In my communication video that I send you, the reason we ask one question at a time as well is I basically have a 2, maximum 3 text limit. That if a client isn't compliant, like, I'll just stop responding, or I'll send a message that makes it clear I'm only going to respond to you once you do this, which is usually send me deposit, because I don't want to deal with you unless you've paid me money now.
True. Okay, so like 2 to 3 texts that you sent. You'll send 2 to 3 texts. Maximum. Yeah. Okay.
I'll give you an example. Let's say I say to a client, text me like, hey, Isabel, can I book you today? I'll say, like, hey, thanks so much for your text. Yes, what time are you thinking? If they respond like, oh, what outfits do you have? I need to see more selfies, blah, blah, blah. I might send 1 selfie, but then I'll re-ask, John, I'd love to see you. Here's one of my sexy selfies. What time are you wanting to meet today? If he texts me again and doesn't answer that question, then I'll usually send a message that says, John, I would love to see you. Until, like, you answer X question, I'm not going to be able to arrange a meeting.
Okay.
And I just stop replying. So the time waster that girls deal with is, unfortunately, like, a client can only be a time waster if you enable them by continuing to respond.
True.
It's just about setting boundaries. If you make it clear, and you want to do it to an extent in a polite way, if someone's being aggressive and completely an idiot, then you can just block him and stop replying altogether. You don't have to deal with him at all. But in that example that I've just told you, like, 1 text in, hey, can I have a selfie? Fine, I'll send you a selfie, but then I'll re-ask the question. If he then sends me another message of, oh, I really wanted to know if you do X service, then that's not really a necessity for me to be rude to him. But I can simply state, like, I'm happy to answer those questions, but I need to know what time we're going to meet today. And it also shows me how compliant he's willing to be. And if he won't answer a simple question like that, then it's not a good sign. And so, like, just stopping it is the best way to deal with it. And then if he really wants to see me, he'll come back and he'll answer that question.
True. True. See, I wouldn't even like answer the message if they asked for like a selfie though. I would just like put it to junk. But okay, that's good to know. Like, even those can turn into bookings. Like, clients asking questions.
Yeah. And also gives you an opportunity. Just started doing this. She was like resistant. I know a lot of girls are resistant to selfies, and I understand why. There are a portion of clients out there who sure photo collecting. But firstly, like, you've got an online ad. Like, you've got photos online. So,
True.
like, just have photos on your phone, pre-edited, that you're comfortable, essentially just as if they were on the ad, but they're on your phone instead. The reason we said that is because it sets you apart from other girls, and it builds excitement and curiosity for the client because they're visual creatures.
Okay. Perfect.
Now, you don't have to send them like 10 photos, but I will always send a photo immediately because I know the two things I just said. Oh, this girl's different. Like, she's actually offered me something that most girls complain about. And two, oh, like, obviously want to be a good photo, but you look good. Now they're even more interested because, well, they're looking at what they want and you're engaging with them in a friendly manner.
Okay. Okay. That's perfect. So keep the photos or don't have them on your profile. Like just have like a different set of photos for when they ask.
Yeah, so what we'll do together is we'll have photos on your profile and then we'll have a set of photos on your phone that are selfie style, that are pre-prepared, that you can send to clients during your interaction with them to further influence them into making a booking with you. And we also use it in the upsell process.
Okay. Perfect. Wow, that's so smart. Okay.
And it's all pre-prepared. You can have, if you know that clients want to see you in particular outfits, you just have those photos ready. You can be anywhere. You don't have to, one of the other reasons girls don't like getting asked for selfies because they don't have them ready. And it's like, oh, I have to get up and go take a selfie. It's like, well, if you just have 20 on your phone ready to go, you'll never have that problem again.
True. My arsenal.
Totally. That's exactly what it is. And for every client that is like a time waster, there'll be 5 more who are genuine, who contact you, receive a completely different response to every other escort they've ever dealt with, who contacted you, not completely ready to book because most people aren't. They need a bit of coercing. And you've now held their hand and encouraged them to make a booking with you with stuff that, you have nothing to lose by sending a photo that you've pre-prepared and it's just sitting on your phone and you send to everybody.
True. Okay.
Okay. Doing these things as well, particularly early in the interaction, increases compliance from the client. So then when you do get to asking for deposits, when you do get to any screening requests, you've excited the client, they want to see you, they feel, do you know the law of reciprocity where you do something for somebody, they feel indebted to do something for you?
Yes.
Yeah, well, you've done something for them, so they feel more likely to be like, okay, well, now she's asking something of me. We're just using all these little psychological things to just increase compliance and ultimately bring both sides closer to what they want. The client wants a great experience with a great escort, and you want a client to come and, treat you well and pay you money.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Okay, good. So far, so good.
Awesome. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the no crossover with the agency. And this is kind of moves into my next topic, which is about not having an in-call. If you had an in-call and if you're not asking for photo ID, you're obviously not going to be able to see if it's an agency client or not because you can't see their photo.
Yeah.
If you go to a hotel, what you can do is prearrange the client to be somewhere and you can peek and look and see who they are, hopefully before they see you. And then if it is an agency client, you can leave. Like if the risk is what you've told me, that they'll report you and that sort of thing.
Yes.
But if you had an in-call with a video intercom, that would also almost entirely eliminate this crossover with the agency issue, which really you have no other way to eliminate that if you can't see them before the booking. And if we're not asking for photo ID anymore because nobody's willing to do it and you're losing all these bookings, then that's kind of like the final hurdle that we need to jump over.
True. Okay, and call with a video intercom.
Yes. So there are different ways to do this without incurring a full-time overhead.
Okay.
Firstly, you can book Airbnbs that have a video intercom. A lot of them in big cities do now because the more modern buildings have them.
Okay.
And you can look for it in the Airbnb listing.
Okay.
There's a website called dayuse.com. Have you ever seen that?
No, it's like they use hotels, I guess.
Yeah, correct. It enables, because the problem with hotels is if you have a booking at 12 p.m., often check-in's like 2 and check-out is like 10 a.m. So what the fuck do you do if you have a 12 p.m. booking?
Yeah, true.
But day use is basically places that I think list typically like 9 to 5 or like shorter windows that you can book pretty much during the day.
Okay.
Now, sometimes they'll be on there. I don't know. You'd have to look in your area. Like you want to look at this stuff in advance and have this stuff ready. And having an in-call will also increase the amount of bookings that you get.
Okay.
If you can find options that have a video intercom, great. Otherwise, it'll be just like meeting a client at a hotel. You will have to have a client like pick a spot in the hotel that they're standing, and then you'll need to peek and see like, well, who is it? And then unfortunately, if it's somebody who you don't want to see, you'll have to leave and cancel the booking, which means you'll lose the booking. You spent the money on the in-call. So that's the downside of that. But there's really no other way to do it because you don't have the numbers from the agency.
Okay. It sounds like really complicated. Like trying to peek at someone. I don't know. I'm not very sneaky, so I don't know if that would really work.
Yeah, so there's a few, and I've got
Yeah.
more, and I actually, again, have another video on this, and I'm kind of conscious of our time, so I'm conscious of overloading you with too much information, but I can see that marketing aside, which we do need to do work on, and we will, like some of the things that are making a big impact to your work right now is these practical things. Not having in-call, a screening process is probably a bit invasive, not making the deposit process simple enough, and often just by implementing these changes, even before we get to the marketing, you'll see, like if you're getting, you told me you had 10 inquiries that didn't go through because they stopped replying after screening. Well, imagine if even just half of those had gone through because your screening process was more like friendly, like how much money you would have made.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, and like a few of them were for really long bookings too, like 6 hours overnight. And I was like, oh, I feel bad.
Yeah.
But, okay.
Yeah, totally. Look, and that's why I want to cover this stuff because it's actually, you can implement these things immediately. Like we can get off this call. I'm going to send you the video about the screening, the upsell process, and I have an in-call alternative video. So what do you do to have an appropriate cost-effective in-call where you don't have to pay for it? I've listed a couple, but there's more options. You can literally watch those today and implement that stuff today. And without even making any changes to your profile, all of these inquiries that you're getting, you can start converting some of them.
Okay, perfect. So watch those videos.
Yeah, there's other stuff for in-calls too, where you can just contact every escort, well, not every, but like 20 escorts who list that they have an in-call and ask them if they'll run you their in-call for an hour. Like on an hourly basis. Girls do that.
Okay. Just like email them, I guess.
Yeah, you'll see Emma in the group. She posted a while ago. I'll find it and I'll link you to it in the group. Let me write it down. In-call video, link to Emma post. So she's in Sydney, right? And the cost of living in Sydney to have your own in-call is ridiculous, like so expensive.
Yeah. I heard Sydney's very expensive to live in.
Yes, like most major cities. So a lot of girls don't want to pay for a full-time in-call, obviously, but then they're in a tricky position where they get in-call inquiries. They have to try and like arrange hotels at short notice. You know, it's really expensive. It can be like $400, and then they don't know if the client's going to show up. So they just lose a lot of bookings because of all of these practical steps, right?
Yeah.
Any girl in Sydney who does have an in-call is covering that cost herself. Most of them, well, not most of them, but a lot of them, some of them, will be willing to rent out their space by the hour to another escort, provided they feel like comfortable and that they trust them, which usually they'll just get over a phone conversation and they get the money in advance because they're covering that cost already and that the apartment is vacant when they're not there.
True. Okay.
So you'll see what Emma did. She texted about 20 Sydney escorts who listed in-call. 3 of them responded and said yes, and she now has 3 different in-calls she can use. It's set up for clients, has everything she needs. She doesn't have to lie and pretend they've got video intercoms.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Okay.
If you want to learn more escorting tips, just click the link below this video.